We can do a warm-up, sometimes lying on our back, sometimes standing, and sometimes seated. When we're sitting on the floor, it isn't always a comfortable position for a lot of us because we're not used to sitting on the floor, and hip flexors tend to get really tight. So there are some really traditional ways to sit, and you can pick that. It's interesting in the history of the Yoga Sutras that there are only 6 poses described in the Yoga Sutras, and those are the ancient texts of yoga, and they're all seated meditation postures. It doesn't say anything about any standing poses or stretching hamstrings or anything like that, because we remember that originally yoga was practiced in order to prepare the body to sit in meditation. So we kind of flipped it around here in the West. But most of us are comfortable in what we call sukhasana, or a simple cross-legged posture. It's really good to elevate your hips if you sit on the floor and your knees are a lot higher than your hips, because that really makes the front of the body grip. So if you elevate on something, the higher you are, the more softness and release you can get in the front of the body. This isn't the only pose. Dee Dee's demonstrating what we call Virasana, which is where you sit on your heels, and that's the pose that everybody either loves or hates, because if you have knee or ankle issues, you won't like that one. Of course, we could sit in lotus position too if our hips were quite ready for that. Women sometimes like one called Siddhasana, where you bring your knees really wide and it creates this great big base of the pose for you, so it's a little more grounded that way. So if your hips bother you or your knees bother you, you can always sit with your legs in front of you and still sit with that extended spine. You could sit in a chair too, if you chose. So let's pick one. And then use your fingertips on the floor so you could really almost lift yourself up off of the floor. That creates a lot of length. And then you could let your base of your pose, whatever it is, settle back down. We'll take our hands and either put them palms down on our top thighs, or you could turn palms up. It's a little different energy feel. And then we'll soften our gaze or close our eyes all together so we can begin checking in with the body that you brought with you today. You might scan through the body, noticing places of tightness and tension, which is the first thing that we often notice, those parts of us that we don't like. But as you scan through your body, also notice what feels open, relaxed, and comfortable as well. And next, we begin to feel the rhythm of our breath. So you might notice where you feel the breath the strongest. It could be just at the tip of your nose as you inhale cool air and exhale warm. You might feel the breath in the upper chest as an expansion of the lungs themselves, or perhaps even low and deep in the belly when we get the sense of how the diaphragm moves with each inhalation moving down, and on each exhalation drawing in and up. So this is just the bare bones experience of breathing. It's not controlling our breath or changing it, but it's simply noticing what the breath feels like this morning as well. And next we'll bring our hands mirror images of each other in the mudra called Anjali Mudra, which really is symbolic of yoga, joining together, to yoke or join together, which is what the word yoga means. And we could make an intention for our practice this morning, maybe staying present with the breath or the sensations of the body. Good. And then we'll exhale, release our arms, and then let's turn our palms out, which is external rotation of the upper arms. So normally we live internally rotated, so this is just a little bit of balance. And now, as you inhale, start to reach your arms in the air, staying grounded into the sitting bones, pushing through the heels of your hands. So like you're trying to really touch the space around you. Your fingertips might even touch the floor. Good, let's turn and reach overhead. Feeling the upward motion of the breath, we call that pranavayu. And as you exhale, feel the downward motion of the breath called apana vayu. Good, let's reach our arms in the air one more time. And this time we'll keep our left arm extended, bring our right hand to the floor, and start to add a little bit of side bending, inviting the breath to fill deep and full in the left side of the body. You could even use your right fingertips to push your left sitting bone down so you're really grounded and opening through that whole side, letting the breath go deeper into the left lung. As we inhale, let's reach overhead again. Relax the shoulders down. Take a breath, keep our right hand where it is, bring the left fingertips to touch. And then as you side bend the other way, notice any differences that you feel in the right and the left side of the body. We might push with our left fingertips to make sure the right sitting bone stays well grounded. Good, let's reach our arms in the air again, take a breath, and this time we'll twist, turning to the right. You could take your left hand to your right knee or upper thigh. Right fingertips could touch the floor behind you. Inhale as you lengthen your spine, and then exhale, twist gently, any amount more. In twists, our head always turns last, looking in the direction of the twist. Let's reach our arms overhead as we come up, back to center, and twist the other way, bringing our right hand somewhere along the length of the left leg. Left fingertips might come to the floor. As you inhale, lengthen by engaging the abdominals, drawing the belly in and up, reach the whole way into the crown of your head. And then we'll slowly unwind and come back to center. If you're sitting cross-legged, at this point, let's pick up our legs and change the way our legs are crossed, because you always go your first way, your natural way first, and this is all about balance, you know. And next we'll bring our hands to our knees and start to circle through the low back. So your circles could be dipping your shoulders one direction. They can be really little circles, just barely moving, or if it feels appropriate for your spine, you can really put a lot of enthusiasm into this. Notice which way you're moving, and now start to reverse directions for a few more breaths. Okay, let's do one more breath and find our way back to center. Good, and we'll take our right hand, stretch it out, bring our right hand above our left ear, walk your left fingertips away and stretch out the side of your neck. This is a place where a lot of us hold tension, and sometimes we don't even realize that until we know what it feels like to release it. You could push your head into your hand, but resist a little bit with your hand. Let's do a slow breath in, and always that exhalation, deep breath out. And then we'll inhale back to center. Sweeping the left arm overhead, bring it right above your right ear. Walk your right fingertips away from you to make length on the right side of the neck. Create a little bit of resistance, pushing your hand into your head, but your head back into your hand. And on our next inhale, we'll come up with the breath. Let's all bring our feet to the floor in front of us. Remember cat and cow that we do on our hands and knees? We can also do that seated. And it's a really nice thing for your spine to do during the day. If you've been sitting at a computer for a really long time, it just feels nice to move in those two extreme motions. So we can bring our hands on our knees, and as we inhale, we'll lengthen the front of the body, so it's a little bit of a back bend. And then as you exhale, round and curl the back body. You can even straighten your arms and stretch between your shoulder blades. Begin to move with your own breath. As you inhale, come up and lengthen. Exhale, round and curl. Noticing what parts of your spine like these two actions. Often our low back or our neck is going to move more than thoracic spine, which is the part of us that likes to twist. Remember that our yoga is about paying attention, so noticing without judging or criticizing what it is that you feel. Good, and now that we've warmed up our spine in all different positions, let's go ahead and come to standing, and we'll start with our first standing pose of mountain pose or Tadasana. So often people think that we spend like way too much time on mountain pose, like it's kind of boring, you might think. But Mr. Iyengar always said that a difficult pose is one done with total awareness, no matter how easy the posture. So the goal of yoga is quieting our minds, and if we're standing on our heads, we have to be all there with the posture. But when we're standing on our feet, it's really easy for our mind to get, distracted and move somewhere else. Other than the fact that it really helps us to come into the body and the mind, coming into mountain pose teaches us a lot about all the other poses. As we'll see, what we say often is that mountain is in every pose. So we often spend time really finding the base of the pose. There's also a saying in yoga that you have to learn to stand on your feet before you stand on your head. So at least we're starting by standing on our feet, right? So the first thing that we want to notice is if our feet are parallel to each other. If we're not used to standing this way, we often will stand with our feet out or like all the weight on one hip. So once you learn how to stand in yoga, it kind of sneaks in through the rest of your life. The next thing with our feet parallel to each other, there's really two different ways to do mountain. One is with the inner edges of our feet touching, which makes it a little more of a balance. It brings a lot of awareness into the core. You almost feel like you're wavering a little bit. The other way, which is a little different pose, would be to step your feet about 2 to 3 inches apart. And then you can feel all of the awareness in the outside of your hips, so the muscles are working a little more. So whichever one is right for you today. And then we'll start to lean forward and back. So you might sway forward, pushing onto the balls of your feet. When you do that, you might notice that the muscles of your low back tend to grip. And the same thing happens when we go back on our heels, then the hip flexors in the front of the body grip. So what we'd like to do is find that perfectly centered and balanced point where you feel like you're not leaning forward or back. Next, we'll soften our knees just a little bit. 2 reasons that we do that: it relaxes the quads and it brings our pelvis level. Okay, so when our legs are straight, sometimes we're tipping forward. So just by softening the knees, that'll bring our pelvis into a level position. And then as we straighten the legs, we'll keep the tailbone moving down towards the floor with our pelvis level. And now you start to feel the front of the body extended. I saw everybody a little taller when you did that. Our hands are by our side. We'll reach our fingers to the outside edges of our feet. And then think of bringing your shoulders and your ears in line. So as if you could take the very center of your head back towards the wall behind you. The description in Tadasana would be our gaze would be off and on the horizon. Good. So notice how much balance is really involved in this pose. And we'll see if we can hold and maintain Tadasana as we move through some different positions with our arms. So first, we'll take our arms forward. Your palms are facing in towards each other. You might imagine you're going to reach out and then change your mind and draw your upper arms back. So we feel that the upper arm is really cinched in the shoulder socket. And now continue to reach overhead, upward reaching mountain. Reaching through the little finger side of your hand, making sure you're not doing that by elevating your shoulders, keeping the shoulders down and our pelvis relaxed. You might even think of just softening your knees just a little bit. And as we exhale, we'll reach forward and release down.